Jujutsu Kaisen begins by introducing us to Yuji Itadori, an incredibly athletic high school student. Despite being able to break school records with ease, Yuji isn't interested in joining these sports clubs. Instead, he spends most of his time with the Occult Research Club, a small group of students fascinated by ghosts, curses, and paranormal legends. The main reason Yuji avoids sports is because he wants to spend more time with his grandfather, who has been hospitalized for quite some time. One day, Yuji visits him in the hospital, and before passing away, his grandfather leaves him with one final message. He tells Yuji to always help other people whenever he can and to make sure he doesn't die alone. These final words end up becoming one of the biggest motivations for Yuji throughout the entire series. Back at school, the Occult Research Club receives a mysterious sealed object that they believe is nothing more than an old cursed artifact. Curious about it, they decide to remove the protective seal without realizing the danger they're about to unleash. Meanwhile, we're introduced to another important character, Megumi Fushiguro, a first-year student from Jujutsu High. Megumi has come searching for the very same object because it's actually an extremely dangerous cursed item. He quickly tracks it down and warns Yuji that the artifact isn't just some old relic. It attracts terrifying creatures known as curses. Curses are monsters born from negative human emotions like fear, hatred, and regret. As long as the seal remains intact, the cursed object stays relatively harmless. Unfortunately, the students have already removed the seal. As night falls, powerful curses begin invading the school, drawn by the immense cursed energy coming from the artifact. Yuji realizes that his friends are trapped inside the school building and immediately rushes in to save them. Megumi is already fighting one of the monsters, but quickly finds himself overwhelmed. Despite having no knowledge of curses, Yuji jumps into the fight without hesitation. His incredible physical strength surprises Megumi, allowing them to rescue the students for a brief moment. However, an even stronger curse appears, leaving them with almost no chance of survival. That's when Megumi reveals the truth about the mysterious object. It's actually one of the 20 fingers belonging to Ryomen Sukuna, the king of curses. Even after death, Sukuna's fingers continue to possess enormous cursed energy, making them incredibly dangerous. Realizing they have no other option, Yuji does something completely unexpected. He swallows Sukuna's finger. Almost instantly, an overwhelming amount of cursed energy explodes from his body. For a brief moment, Sukuna takes control, revealing himself as an incredibly powerful and terrifying curse. Unlike ordinary humans, Yuji somehow manages to regain control of his own body almost immediately. This completely shocks Megumi because nobody should be able to contain Sukuna. Instead of becoming a monster, Yuji becomes Sukuna's vessel while still remaining himself. The episode ends with Satoru Gojo finally arriving at the scene. After seeing that Yuji can control Sukuna, Gojo realizes this changes everything. Rather than executing Yuji immediately, he decides to take him to Jujutsu High, where a completely new life awaits him. Episode 1 does an excellent job introducing the world of Jujutsu Kaisen. It establishes the rules of curses, introduces the main characters, and gives Yuji a powerful reason to fight. More importantly, it ends with one of the biggest twists in the series, turning an ordinary high school student into the vessel of the most dangerous curse in history. And this is only the beginning. What did you think about episode 1? Let me know in the comments. And if you'd like to see episode 2 explained next, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.
Jujutsu Kaisen Episode 2 begins immediately after Yuji Itadori eats Sukuna's finger and somehow takes back control of his body. Megumi is completely shocked because Yuji should have been possessed by Sukuna. But before he can decide what to do, Satoru Gojo arrives. Gojo is a teacher at Jujutsu High and immediately notices that Yuji is able to control Sukuna. To test him, Gojo asks Yuji to let Sukuna take control for 10 seconds. Sukuna immediately attacks Gojo, but the fight is completely one-sided. No matter what Sukuna does, he can't land a proper hit. After 10 seconds, Yuji takes control of his body again, proving that he can suppress the King of Curses. However, this doesn't mean Yuji is safe. Gojo explains that the Jujutsu world has already decided to execute him. But there's another option. Sukuna has 20 fingers scattered across Japan, and every finger contains part of his power. Normally, these cursed objects can't be destroyed. But now that Yuji can contain Sukuna, he can eat every finger and bring all of Sukuna's power into one body. Then, Yuji can be executed, destroying Sukuna permanently. This leaves Yuji with a terrible choice. Die immediately, or collect all 20 fingers and die later. After his grandfather's funeral, Yuji thinks about his final words. Help people and don't die alone. Yuji decides to accept Gojo's plan. If his death can help protect others, then he wants to make it mean something. Gojo gives Yuji another Sukuna finger, and Yuji eats it without hesitation. Once again, he remains completely in control. This confirms just how rare Yuji really is. Yuji then leaves his old life behind and travels with Gojo and Megumi to Tokyo Jujutsu High. There, he meets the school's principal, Masamichi Yaga. But before Yuji can officially become a student, Yaga tests his motivation. He creates a cursed corpse and attacks Yuji while questioning why he wants to become a Jujutsu sorcerer. At first, Yuji simply repeats his grandfather's final words. But Yaga isn't satisfied. He tells Yuji that being a sorcerer means constantly facing death. If Yuji is only following someone else's wishes, he'll eventually blame them when things become difficult. Yuji finally realizes that this has to be his own decision. He admits that eating Sukuna's fingers is something only he can do. And if he walks away now, he knows he'll regret it for the rest of his life. Yaga accepts his answer. Yuji officially becomes a student at Tokyo Jujutsu High. The episode ends with Gojo revealing that another first-year student is about to join Yuji and Megumi. And that student is Nobara Kugisaki. Episode 2 is really about Yuji choosing his own path. In Episode 1, he became Sukuna's vessel by accident. But now, Yuji willingly accepts the responsibility of collecting all 20 fingers, even knowing that his journey is supposed to end with his own execution. What did you think about Episode 2? Let me know in the comments, and if you want Episode 3 explained next, don't forget. Jujutsu Kaisen Episode 3 finally introduces the third first-year student at Tokyo Jujutsu High, Nobara Kugisaki. And within just one episode, she proves that Yuji and Megumi are going to have a very interesting time dealing with her. The episode begins with Yuji and Megumi waiting with Gojo to meet their new classmate. Yuji is surprised that there are only 3 first-year students, but Megumi explains that Jujutsu sorcerers are extremely rare. Soon, Nobara arrives in Tokyo. She comes from the countryside and has always wanted to live in the city. But her first impression of Yuji and Megumi isn't exactly positive. She immediately judges both of them and seems disappointed that these are the people she'll be studying with. Of course, Yuji doesn't exactly love her personality either. Gojo then announces that they're going sightseeing in Tokyo. Yuji and Nobara instantly become excited. They start arguing over where they should go, with Yuji wanting to visit famous areas and Nobara wanting to go shopping. But Gojo has completely different plans. Instead of taking them sightseeing, he brings everyone to an abandoned building in Roppongi. The building is filled with curses. Gojo tells Yuji and Nobara to enter the building and exorcise them. Megumi is told to stay outside. Yuji is confused because he still doesn't know how to use cursed energy properly. So Gojo gives him a cursed tool called Slaughter Demon. The weapon contains cursed energy, meaning Yuji can use it to kill curses. Before they enter, Gojo explains something important. Curses in Tokyo can be much stronger than curses in the countryside. Negative emotions from humans create curses, and places with larger populations can produce much more dangerous ones. This mission isn't just training. Gojo wants to see if Nobara actually has the mentality required to become a Jujutsu sorcerer. Yuji and Nobara enter the building together but quickly decide to split up. Yuji searches the lower floors while Nobara moves deeper into the building. It doesn't take long for Yuji to encounter a curse. The creature attacks him, but Yuji remains surprisingly calm. Even without proper Jujutsu training, his incredible physical abilities allow him to fight back. Using Slaughter Demon, Yuji quickly exorcises the curse. Outside, Gojo explains why Yuji is so unusual. Most normal people would freeze after seeing a monster like that. Knowing curses exist is completely different from standing directly in front of one. But Yuji doesn't hesitate. After everything he's experienced with Sukuna, he has already adapted to this terrifying world. Meanwhile, Nobara discovers a room filled with mannequins. She quickly realizes that a curse is hiding among them. This is where we finally see Nobara's cursed technique. She fights using a hammer, nails, and a straw doll. Nobara channels cursed energy through her nails and fires them at her target. She easily destroys the curse hiding inside the mannequin. But then Nobara discovers a young boy hiding inside the building. Before she can get him to safety, another curse appears. And this curse is much smarter. Instead of attacking Nobara directly, it grabs the child and uses him as a hostage. Nobara immediately understands the situation. If she attacks, the curse could kill the boy. So she drops her weapons. This moment reveals something important about Nobara. She acts confident, aggressive, and sometimes selfish. But when an innocent person's life is in danger, she is willing to put herself at risk to protect them. The curse prepares to attack. But suddenly, Yuji smashes directly through the wall. He cuts off the curse's arm and rescues the boy. The curse immediately tries to escape. Unfortunately for it, Nobara now has a piece of its body. She places the severed arm on her straw doll and activates her technique. Resonance. The attack transfers cursed energy through the connection between the curse and its severed body part. The curse is struck from a distance and completely exorcised. Yuji and Nobara successfully complete their first mission together. Afterward, Gojo explains that Nobara passed his test. But the episode also gives us a glimpse into Nobara's past. When she was younger, Nobara lived in a small countryside village. A woman named Saori moved into the area from Tokyo. Nobara quickly became close to her and admired the completely different life Saori represented. But the people in the village treated Saori like an outsider. Eventually, Saori and her family were forced to leave. Nobara hated the narrow-minded environment of her hometown. This is one of the biggest reasons she wanted to move to Tokyo. Becoming a Jujutsu sorcerer gave her the opportunity to leave the countryside and live life on her own terms. After the mission, Yuji and Nobara are excited because Gojo promises to take them out for food. Megumi, however, quickly realizes something. Yuji and Nobara have no idea how many people die while fighting curses. Megumi already understands the reality of being a Jujutsu sorcerer. But for Yuji and Nobara, everything still feels new. And that's what makes episode 3 important. It officially completes the main first-year trio. Yuji Itadori, Megumi Fushiguro, and Nobara Kugisaki. We also finally see Nobara's fighting style and learn why she left her hometown. But most importantly, this episode shows that despite their completely different personalities, Yuji and Nobara already work surprisingly well together. And their first mission is only the beginning. What did you think about episode 3? Let me know in the comments, and if you want episode 4 explained next, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.